Namaste, this is Ayesha, and it's been quite a while since I have put out a video on my YouTube channel, and that has been mainly because I've been so busy with my regular work. So I figured that since it is the end of the year, it would be best to start off with the annual predictions, as I have been doing for the past few years. So 2022, the annual predictions is what I would be touching on today. As we have been observing, the last 2 years have been very complex and most definitely one of the densest phases of our civilization, and we continue to notice these shifts moving forward. And many of us have different opinions about it. I do not wish to sit here and say who's right or who's wrong about it. The proof is always in the eating of the pudding and not the, what we say about it. So I am going to just put out my perceptions of the entire thing. So please be patient with me in this video, because I am not sitting here with a bunch of papers and reading out from my notes. I'm rather sitting in front of my altar and absorbing as much positive energy as possible that I can put into this dialogue, and for the highest good for all of us. Because I always believe that whatever is said and done should come always from a place of peace and nothing else. So when I talk about peace, it is difficult, it has been difficult for many of us to process what is going on in this world and around us in peace, because of all the things that have been rising up in the form of a pandemic and protests and so many things. Well, one positive thing about 2021, which is this year, is that, as I said in the beginning of this year, that we will continue to swim through the currents of what 2020 started, but we will kind of, accept it in some ways, even subconsciously, as a part of life, as a way of living, and we move forward as a world. So in some countries, schools have started, like my children have been going back to school, and people have been starting to work, away from home again. So changes, some places have been observing changes of normalcy, or so-called normalcy. But this would not be for long. I will come to that later. The thing is, you see, as I said earlier this year, we will get used to this process. It will take us deeper. It will make us wiser in handling the situations that 2020 threw at us. So 2021 has been a calmer year in some ways and dramatic in other ways. Okay? Now, what does 2022 have for us? From the beginning of January to as late as March, we will all be observing some kind of, it's like this whole year just flows into that. There won't be much of changes, and we will all be thinking, okay, so we're just still wallowing in this whole thing. But you see, as far as the pandemic and all of that is concerned, there will still be ongoing pressure from various governments on the public. There will still be a lot of fear inflicted and confusion. But you see, there will be a sense of acceptance and peace that comes with it. So many of us will start to accept this as a way of life, but we will be driven more towards trying to understand this for ourselves than as a collective. So what happens when this kind of thinking, a thought process, starts erupting in each one of us, is that sense of, I just want to be in peace with the situation myself. You see, we would not want to be in that crowd mentality. No matter which crowd you have been with or have not been with, you don't want to be part of any of it. It becomes one man for himself or a woman for herself. It becomes a solitude journey. So this journey will take you from point A to point B, which would last till as late as August 2022, where we will be slowly moving towards a much calmer year. But this calm year comes from a lot of us starting to work within these situations that we will be surrounded by. See, some of us will face issues about working from home again. Some of us will be facing issues with lockdowns, and the others will be facing issues between both trying to be adjust to a normal life again. And so that the continuous chaos will be there. But you see, we would not be clinging to other people's opinions, clinging to other people's thoughts. Instead, we will just want to think for ourselves. We will develop a sense of strength, inner strength in each one of us. And this is a positive way of evolving, because individual soul journey is so crucial in this point in our world, because each one of us is then able to dig deeper into our intuitive senses to pick out what is the best solution for the situation each one of us is in, instead of just being drawn by the media or whatever, by any kind of opinions and perceptions of other people that seem to, influence us in different directions and lure us into different directions now. So you will feel that you are more independent in your thought process and making decisions for yourself. So I feel that this is much needed. This 2022 is going to bring out the individual in you. It's going to give you the importance to draw yourself closer and not other people, so you can expect to kind of appreciate solitude more than you would appreciate other people's company. So this would mean that a lot of people may feel detached from their immediate environments or families or friends or even social circle, and some of you may even leave social media and all of that aside, so you can embrace more of your own thought processes, your own intuitive intentions. So I feel that this is what it will be and should be. This is the right way of processing a journey for most of us, because without having the deeper connection with yourself, ascension itself is all about you and me. It is not about what the world thinks or how it's moving forward. It's about you, because this journey is itself about you. It's important to conceive your soul, your intentions, your desires, your needs, your karma. Everything is about your journey here. So ascension cannot happen without it, right? Because this is about you. And it doesn't mean that you're going to turn into a selfish person and neglect your duties here or responsibilities here. It simply means that you will realize or awaken to an awareness of needing to be there for yourself, of needing to listen to what you feel, how you perceive. So 2022 is going to be more about being exclusively you, all right? And this would bring out some positive traits in many lives. Positive traits as in you will start to live more out of intuition than from the mind. So this will automatically be a challenge for those who are still unawakened, because they will feel that they're no longer drawn to a lot of things they've always been drawn to, and they're suddenly being pulled everywhere, all directions. So the chaos will continue, because people would kind of think that they are under the influence of some power or so. Okay? But those who are awakened will be able to see that this is actually coming from within them. That this is about a higher calling. This is about a higher mission. This is about you growing individually. It will become mandatory that you and everyone else listens to what is being said inside of us. this connection would come through mostly by our spirit guides, guardians, and even ancestors who will be pitching in to help each one of us to move forward. Now, it is important that from 2022 to 2023, many of us fast forward our missions, our purposes here, and tie up all the loose ends, try to figure out a lot of things that we've been struggling with over the years. So it'll be a year full of lessons which you need to accept humbly instead of fighting it. So a lot of people who have that fighting warrior spirit in them will kind of feel a little lost in this phase because they will keep fighting it. They will think that everything has to be fought. Everything, so there will be a rush of anger and fury and restlessness among people who cannot understand the grace behind this. You see, they will think they need to fight this out and hold on to people, hold on to situations, hold on to their beliefs and rights. So they just want to keep, what they do is they keep getting so obsessed about being right. And that is not what this phase is about. This phase is about accepting humbly where you are, who you are, and not having to push through everything that is thrown at you. Because at some point, we all must understand that we're here to align with the one consciousness and not fight against it. So the one consciousness includes karmic cycles, it includes causes of birth and death, it includes evolution, it includes, to flow gracefully and be a part of the one consciousness. And even if you don't remember your mission here while you are alive, you have subconsciously, as a spirit, always known why you're here and what you should be doing or experiencing. All right? So there's going to be inner battles in a lot of people. But those who, well, at one point, I hope that as you go through the year ahead, or maybe 2 years ahead, you would at some point come back to this video and listen to this once again and see what I've been trying to say. Because this will be important for a lot of us who will be trying to get deeper into spirituality or even deeper into accomplishing and becoming successful in life, or trying to raise a good family, trying to, somehow navigate through all the confusion that is happening in our world right now. All of this would be important. So I want you to remember this and perhaps even come back later to this video, months down the line or maybe years down the line, to know that this is very important for you and me. All right? Ascension cannot happen without a realization. Ascension cannot happen without an awareness. And it doesn't mean that people who run around saying they're woke have all the answers. They do not. If you're one of them, you've just only opened the door to an awakening. Now that is a different topic, something for another video altogether. But I just want to touch upon this and say that do not be pulled into that massive ocean which claims to claims to add too many layers of ego and everything on you that you're not able to see beyond. Okay? Being woke does not mean that you're enlightened. It's a totally different phase of evolution. An enlightened being can come back and incarnate, but once enlightened, the person can only reach that point of enlightenment on the other side. Okay? So here is the rest of the year's prediction. From June 2022, there will be new pandemics, which some of you might be mocking at. Yeah, it's all over the place. Everybody knows about it. Yes, it is. It is all over the place. It is not going to change much. So if you're going to walk around with complete hatred in your body, mind, and soul, I want you to know that you will not be able to fight unless you're meant to fight. So this would be a realization amongst those who are fighting today. I'm not saying the vaccine is safe. I have not taken any vaccine. As far as possible, I would not. So I most likely would still be one of those who have not taken a vaccine. But I'm not here for any conspiracy. I'm not trying to prove anything. This is my individual choice, and I wish to be respected for it. So similarly, each one of you needs to respect your own journey and not be influenced by any kind of opinion. All right? Because conspiracies will continue to swing. As far as evolution goes, there will always be people who try to prove something. That's not the point here. This is not a war against anything. It's a spiritual war. And for spiritual war, we cannot go around pointing fingers at those who are living and causing some changes. People who are enforcing these vaccines on people, on public, basically, they have their own intentions, right? And those who are refusing also have their own intentions. So we all have the right to intend. How far you wish to fight, how much do you wish to fight? Because every time a soul fights for a particular cause, there are limitations. It could take you as far as, depriving yourself of a lot of things in this world. It could even mean death. It could even mean be isolation or some legal actions. Now, how far you plan to take it, it's your journey. As far as possible, don't drag other people into it. Let them all make up their own minds. That would be the wisest things to do. Because, as I said, next year is going to be more about individual opinions, individual journey. Okay? So, after October 2022, it will be a time of great, how do I say this? It's like a sigh. Everybody's sighing. I hear the world sighing. It's not a sigh of relief. It's a sigh of acceptance. Because a lot of us would start to accept this for what it is. You see, when I started talking about ascension and the end of the world, when I started talking about this in 2020, I don't know. I mean, when I started talking about it, I wasn't even sure how people would respond to this, but thankfully I did receive a lot of positive responses, and now it's been the second year, and people still go back to those videos and they say, yes, what you said was right. But, I know there obviously are going to be a lot of people who are going to sit here and think she's just, talking of doom all the time. Well, no, I don't speak of doom all the time. I really don't have the time for it. And I've always stayed away from anything dark because I feel the highest vibration always is best, right? So this does not mean that I'm suddenly heading to a lower vibration. If you feel so, then it is your perception of what I'm saying. It's not the perception, the vibration of the situation itself, okay? Because birth and death is a part of evolution. You can't say death is a lower vibration. Death is a process of life, period. Just like birth is a process of life. It's inevitable. If you've incarnated, you've got to leave. Now, if you suddenly say, I have the willpower of living 300 years if I want to, well, but by all means, if you're meant to be here for 300 years, you will do just that, isn't it? But if you're not meant to be here, you can put in all the willpower that you want, and nature will still do what it has to do to ensure that your soul completes its journey and moves on to the next phase of it, regardless of what you feel. So you can't call that a dark vibration. You call that a part of evolution. Now remember, just like each human being who is alive today, one day has to meet death, that doesn't mean that it's a lower vibration. It's a process of evolution. So similarly, every planet, everything in this universe has its time. Has its time to arrive, has its time to leave. That is evolution. That's not a lower vibration. I don't see why so many people are rebuking that. You know, they're just going against it. I've had people who are, I've seen discuss this topic. You see, the reason why I have even stopped doing all of these predictions on my Facebook page, and even talking to some of the people who claim to be, you know, a spiritual and all of that, I feel that not many people, in fact, hardly anyone is really ready to accept evolution. Like, you have signed up for this just as much as I have signed up for this. And I am saying, well, actually, I am willing to accept this whichever way it goes. I understand suffering because I was at the brink of death last year. I was at the brink of death this year too. So I am just as vulnerable to all of the situations that's going on around us. But does that make me think that if I don't make it from COVID, it means that there's a lower vibration attacking me? No. I would think that is how I am meant to go. I would accept it gracefully. When I was diagnosed with COVID and I went through literally a very, very tough time earlier this year, there were a few days when I would be lying there thinking that there's only one way out of this for me, which is that I have to accept this gracefully. I have to accept it no matter which way it goes. Because I knew that I wasn't doing as well as they wanted me to. I was not allowed to leave the hospital. There were a lot of complications. I had pneumonia. I was coughing up blood. There were a lot of things that I was going through, which to everyone around me was terrifying to look at. So I knew that, you know, I just had one way of dealing with this, and that was with my soul. I knew that I couldn't let my mind get in the way and whine about how unfair this is, or what would happen should I not make it, what would happen and how unfair this whole thing is, and why am I going through this, you know, the whole pity story. Poor me. I didn't want to do poor me. I knew that I was alive like everybody else was alive, and everybody has to leave at some point, and if this is my exit point, I will, with a bow that I've done well so far, and thank you for having me here. I'm grateful for the experiences life has brought me. I'm grateful for the people in my life. So it's time to go, I will go. So I was graceful at that point. But how many people can actually be that way? We lost thousands of people in 2020. We lost more or less the same here this year in this world. And I'm not saying it's going to end. It is not. It is not about the situation. It is not about evolution. It is not even about the end of the world. It is about us as souls. Now remember, even if you don't remember it, you are here today, you're breathing. You're here today, you're listening to this recording. You're here today, now whatever the time is right now as you listen to this. You are here, period. Whether or not you believe in what I say, whether or not you believe in anything that's going on around us, but you are here just as I am here. You don't even have to believe this, but you're here, aren't you? You're breathing. We have all just got two choices: to accept this whole situation gracefully, which is not easy because every day everything changes. It's hard for me too. But the only thing that I have pledged to do with this 108 days of fasting is that I will find my grace. I will find my peace. I will find my surrender. No matter what happens around me, to me, and to everything around me. Because this peace and grace and strength is far more important than anything else I would do. I know that there's so many people suffering right now. So many, countless, more than we have seen in decades. I don't wish to be one who just lies there and looks at my phone screen and says, oh, I wish I could do something. No, I want to do something. I don't want to hold out a placard in the middle of the road and protest. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's hatred in the faces most of the time. You know? This is not about a war that needs to be fought against face to face. This is a war that needs to be fought within each man and woman. And that is exactly what 2022 will bring a sigh in every lip. That this is a battle not with people, not against politicians, it's not against pharmacies, it's not against the wealthy. It is against ourselves. It is time to rise and be the souls that we came here as, and not be beaten down constantly by the stimulation that's going on around us. Face it any way as you will, but know that this is exactly what next year is going to bring for us. I hope that you would sit down and listen to this dialogue, listen to this video once again or whenever you want to, because I'm sure that it would have some kind of difference. It would make some kind of difference. It will ring a bell somewhere, even if it's in the distance of your mind. It so will, and it should. 2022 is going to awaken you. And it doesn't care whether others awaken or not, because at this point it's about you first. And this is not something out of ego, but this is something out of divine grace. You as a soul have to stop and listen to yourself, your thoughts, your actions. Everybody else will just be as guided just like you. So don't worry too much. We got everyone covered. Nobody's going to be left out. But unless each one of us starts to listen more to ourselves than everything else around us, things will change. How will they change? In the way it is meant to change. Thank you so much for listening to this. I know that this is not a very, detailed description of, okay, these are the things we can expect, and like I did in 2020. But I think this is all that needs to be really said. This is all that needs to be said. Because if you want to make it through this next milestone, it is not going to be easy. I wouldn't say it's going to be harder, because we haven't met anything as hard. We've just been shaken out, some of us feel that there's trembles under feet. The land is trembling. There's more to come. So start working on yourself. Don't lie there and keep thinking that, this is so unfair and that is so unfair and I can be strong. I'm going to stand out there and protest and fight about this and that. It's not about fighting on the outside. The battles are on the inside. Sort that out, and the battles on the outside will take care of itself. Namaste. Thank you so much. I love you.